So we're looking at the essentials, essential oils, history and use, part 7 this evening. And just want to remember that the first thing is that this is information in nature, and that it's just another tool in your wellness toolbox that you can use for keeping well and or getting well if you're sick. And it's not to be construed as medical advice. And that if there's something that looks interesting to you, go ahead and do your own due diligence and own research on it, and not just take our word for it. And that the information is as complete as we can make it, but it's not exhaustively comprehensive by any sense of the word. So just some things to keep in mind as we progress through the evening. So first of all, we're going to look at a plant oil called Clary sage, Salvia sclereal, and it is an interesting plant, and the part that's used is the flower. The flower is the primary, the only part that's really used for the essential oil, and its oil is obtained through an oil extraction, the steam distillation process, as many things are that have their essential oils that are utilized for therapeutic uses. Its primary active agents are linalool acetate, germacerine D, and linalool. And those properties have some different things that they do. One of them is as an emmenagogue, which is basically stimulates menses. If that happens to be delayed by some individuals, this can help that along. It also is a galactagogue, which essentially helps increase lactation. If someone doesn't have letdown, prolactin stimulates that as it begins after the baby's born, but sometimes it doesn't happen the way it needs to, and so sometimes the Clary sage can help with that. It's also a neurotonic, so it basically helps maintain healthy neuronal tissue. And remember, a tonic tends towards health, and this is particularly the health of the neurons. It's also a mucolytic. Lytic means to break down. Muco is referring to mucus, so it thins and breaks down mucus, so it can be helpful in congestion, thick respiratory congestive types of situations. It also has anticoagulant properties. That means it keeps blood from coagulating. So there's things going around that have had some inherent coagulation issues that this could potentially be beneficial for. It also helps in maintaining hormone balance throughout the body. It functions to a degree as a sedative and improves circulation. One way it does a circulation improvement is through the anticoagulation aspect, because many times thick blood, having a high factor of hemorrheology, that is blood flow, it can become thick through dehydration or other constituents that are in the blood, like oils and fats that are excessive, as well as microclots that can happen, which is being seen a lot lately. It's also antispasmodic, can lessen the symptoms of asthma, has antifungal and antiseptic properties, and is beneficial for the health of the skin, hair, and eye. So that's Clary sage as an essential oil. So one thing you do want to be careful of is not using it during the early stages of pregnancy, especially during the first trimester. There can be some complications that can occur there. So make sure that you don't do that. Some oils that it can blend well with are lavender, so that can work well on the sedative end of things. Lang-lang and geranium. We'll talk about each of these at different times, and there are many different properties associated with them. But it's nice to know the different oils that are sometimes beneficial in blending. So it's also known as clear eye. So in the medieval ages, it was known as an eye aid. So Clarus is part of the genus and species name, and that's Latin for clear. So clear eyes. Another name, an older name, was Oculus Christi, the eyes of Christ. Oculus is eye, Christi referring to Christ. It also helps strengthen the kidneys and the adrenal glands. So someone who has had just a lot of taxation of their adrenals could benefit from this. Lots of anxiety, perhaps. It benefits the female reproductive organs like the ovaries and uterus. It also is a a hormone balancing oil that many women find beneficial. It helps reduce cramping during cycling and helps with people who have excessive heavy cycles, hot flash diminishing, and other hormonal imbalances that can be experienced by women during various phases of their life. So some primary uses, endometriosis and breast cancer respond well to it when it's applied topically to the area that's affected. Also can be used internally in a capsule to help regulate hormones. So this is just like a regular gel cap or a veggie cap. Remember, gel caps are typically made of gelatin, and if you're staying away from animal products, bovine hooves are made into gelatin, and that's then made into capsules. So you may prefer to have a veggie cap. But you just put a few drops in one of those, and basically it allows it to go down without having digestive tract burning or other sensations that may sometimes be along with different oils of various types. If there's a lack of milk letdown, lactation, it can be applied to the breast tissue to help stimulate lactation. People with Parkinson's who have various seizures and convulsion type effects with their Parkinson's syndromes can be benefited by topical application on the back of the neck, and it can aid brain function. So that was that neurotonic effect that we were talking about earlier. In childbirth, topically used down the spine or on the abdomen. So this is at birth as opposed to like early in pregnancy where it could have some disruptive effects that aren't well known. Can't really talk about them in specifics because I don't know. It's just caution not to use it in the first trimester, but it can aid the initiation or onset of labor. So one thing to keep in mind, typically if you artificially induce labor, there are some side effects associated with artificially induced labor. It can come on hard and fast, and there can be other things that happen, tissue tears and things like that occur when labor is brought on without the natural hormones of your body doing that job for you. So it's probably better not to rush and to hurry things along. But if there is a need for that, this would be one thing that could be used in that line. So beneficial for reducing the symptoms of menopause and premenstrual syndrome. Internally, you can use a capsule, again, a gel cap here, or a veggie cap. So you take it internally, several drops in one of those, and then swallowed with water. Abdominally applied topically. Postpartum depression and anxiety is a very common thing, and it can be offset by diffusing it into the room, so aromatically inhaled, and also applied topically to the soles of the feet. So you can use a foot massage with the Clary sage. Hot flashes, spritz on the skin along with peppermint can have a cooling relief on the skin for helping to diminish those sweats. And insomnia, sublingual, so just under the tongue application internally, or again on the soles of the feet being absorbed through the feet. So through the feet, there are dermatomes there that affect various organs. So we'll see that in various places more effectively. There are circulatory and nervous system pathways that are indicated on the soles of the feet, and pressure points and absorption areas. If it enters the circulatory system by a pathway that's other than through the digestive tract, that tends to go by and enter the circulatory system more rapidly than having to pass through the liver first. So that increases the potency of whatever you're using to do a topical application or some other application that bypasses the liver. So it helps it to have a higher level of potency. So hormonal balance and support. So it has a variety of natural phytoestrogens as a part of it. So estrogens are a class of hormones that are particularly found in females, but the phyto means that they come from plants. So other things that have phytoestrogen-like activity are wild yam and even some soy products. And there's a lot of different things that have phytoestrogens a part of them, but they function in a more tonic way and not as much of a pharmacological way as you would if you were using hormone replacement therapy. Much more moderate, but yet powerful. Can regulate and aid uterine health. So topically, 3 drops to the abdomen on a regular basis unless you're pregnant. So you want to avoid that if you're pregnant. Topically, again, you can put 2 drops to the neck or diffuse it in the room for helping to just maintain hormone balance and support. Circulation. Clary sage promotes vasodilation, so that's the opening and widening of the blood vessels. So that can be a blood pressure lowering aid. Also relaxes the brain and the arteries, and can benefit heart health in that respect by allowing a greater blood flow through the blood vessels. Topically, you can apply it to the chest and the limbs. You could do that perhaps in an emergency that could help vasodilate some tissues, but typically if you're having an ischemic event, you have an occlusion either by clot or by a cholesterol rupture that's occluding the blood vessel, and there's just not a way for it to vasodilate further, end up having a heart attack. And a heart attack is essentially just the death of heart tissue from a lack of oxygen because it's not being able to be supplied appropriately. It can have cholesterol lowering effects and anti-inflammatory, antioxidant effects, and that can be beneficial through the diffused aromatic pathway. And also, if you just add 5 drops to a bath, warm bath water, you can absorb it through the skin in a topical kind of fashion. It has anti-leukemia functioning capabilities. One of the compounds, sclerol, is a compound that when it's utilized, it aids the programmed cell death or apoptosis in leukemia. So one of the things with cancers is they don't die when they're supposed to. In fact, some just continue living immortally and don't have that off signal. When all cells of our body that are normal have a lifespan. The longest lifespan of our cellular tissues are bones, and one of the most rapid is our skin and the tissue of our eye. So there's from both ends of the spectrum. But the Clary sage can help bring that signal, that cell death signal, back to non-properly functioning blood cells that lead to leukemia. So use it in a capsule, and that promotes apoptosis, the technical term for programmed cell death. Skin health reduces skin inflammations and rashes, and you'd want to use it with a carrier oil like jojoba oil. So some research associated with Clary sage, the use of aromatherapy in intrapartum midwifery practices and observational study. So it reduces maternal pain, fear, and anxiety during labor. It's Clary sage and often combined with Roman chamomile. These are the 2 oils most effective in reducing and eliminating pain during the birthing process. Another article on the effect of Clary sage oil in Staphylococcus responsible for wound infections. So helping to minimize infectious agents and reduce infections of wounds during your healing process. In Phytotherapy Reserves in 2014, Leah et al. Wrote an article, Changes in 5-hydroxytryptamine and cortisol plasma levels in menopausal women after inhalation of Clary sage oil. So it doesn't have to be simply a topical application or a internal use. It can be through the aromatic pathway. So the volatile oils can have profound effects on individuals' physiology just from breathing them in. We know that from the writings of Ellen White, speaking to the fact that we can benefit from the scent of the pine and the cedar, and that has been borne out in the notion of forest bathing in places like Japan and other parts of the world, where just smelling the volatile oils coming from cedar and pine can have up to a 30-day residual immunological benefit. And so that's been proven by science. Pain relief and assessment by aromatic essential oil massage on outpatients with primary dysmenorrhea and a randomized double-blind clinical trial. So that's basically painful PMS. So it benefits the cramping and premenstrual syndrome issues that many encounter. Next, we'll look at Cypress, Cupressus sempervirens. So it's from the Latin cuprescens, firmly planted. Semper is always, semper fi is the marine code, which is always faithful. Sempervirens is always green. So they just maintain their pigmentation, their chlorophyll all year round. It's a typical garden variety type of planting. tall and slender, often trimmed to different appearances. The leaves are the part that's utilized through a steam distilled oil extraction process. And the compounds that are used are the alpha-pinenes, the limonene, and carine. And there's a number of different effects that each of these different compounds have. They have anti-inflammatory, bronchodilator effects, anti-anxiety, anxiety, and pain relief. And this isn't the only plant that has this alpha-pinene present. And notice the different temperatures. The alpha-pinene has a lower volatility temperature than the limonene, so they have different times and places where they can be effective. So we see them in Cypress as well as other types of conifers. The limonene can have effects that can elevate the mood and are helpful in stress relief. So found in various fruits, juniper, rosemary, peppermint, and then also is found in the cypress. So some additional properties, antibacterial in nature, kind of antiseptic properties, which is anti-infective, which would include antibacterial, anti-rhematic, a stimulant effect, vasoconstrictor. So as opposed to vasodilation, this can be vasoconstrictor, so it could be helpful for wound abatement, potentially. And then tonifying or improving of tone or density of tissue. So that vasoconstrictor, the astringent type of effects can tighten tissue, and that would be tonifying. So not to be used internally, and another one to avoid during pregnancy. It blends well with basil, lavender, and bergamot oils. So they can be combined nicely with those three. So some key uses. It can be helpful for people suffering from incontinence and bedwetting. So topically, it can be used over the bladder. You can also use the foot reflex points for the bladder. Just looking at charts that have those reflex points on them can be helpful. Restless leg syndrome, carpal tunnel, and arthritis. Kind of three different things. Arthritis is inflammation of the joints. Arthur is joints. Itis is inflammation. And that's what's happening with the carpal tunnel, but that's more tendons, and then restless leg. So topically can promote circulation and can ease the chronic pain that's associated with each of those conditions. So pain relief is helpful. And then also circulatory issues like hemorrhoids or varicose veins, various causes of those situations, but you can use on the veins that are giving issue. Again, it can be an analgesic or a pain reliever. Cellulite, so subsurface tissue buildup. Topically, you can apply the oil and follow with a hot compress. So in combination with hydrotherapy, essentially, to penetrate and help to break up the cellulite and release it. Also helpful in a whooping spastic cough, just a spasm of coughing, to use it over the lungs. Like many people will use something like eucalyptus or peppermint, can be followed by hot compress to benefit the respiratory treatments. So again, using hydrotherapy in conjunction with the oil. Can be used over the pancreas, ovary, and prostate, so both women's, men's, and pancreatic issues over the area of concern, or a reflex point that directly affects it. So decongestion of the liver and the gallbladder. So you can use it topically again. So this isn't one that you're going to be using internally. So apply it over the liver or a flex point on the foot. Endometriosis, fibroids or heavy periods, a gentle massage over the areas of issue can be beneficial. And then edema essentially is a fluid retention and toxemia. So there's a toxic buildup of byproducts that need to be released and can't be. So the topical use can help clear the lymphatic system, because the lymphatic system, the lymph nodes can get clogged and swell and not have good circulation through them. The circulation of lymph is passive. There are valves within the lymphatic system that prevent backflow, and movement is important for that proper fluid movement of the lymph. So the large muscle groups of our legs and arms The body squeeze that lymph forward. If a person is very sedentary, their lymphatic system can get to the point where it doesn't move very well. Sometimes people can have incompetent valves too that allow backflow. So essentially what that's doing is allowing the body to elaborate system of reclaiming and cleansing the interstitial fluid that goes in between the cells and can work its way back into the circulatory system at the heart eventually as the lymph comes back to the lymphatic system. So it can promote circulation and blood flow as well as clearing the lymph. So it can ease muscle pain. It can be function as a deodorizer, the Cypress. It can be a mood booster and can function in anxiety relief. So here's a picture of about a $500 essential oil distillation still that can be purchased. They're fairly inexpensive considering. Tabletop model. It's not super big, but you could distill your own essential oils at home, and some people choose to do that. So here's just a picture of a chart of reflexes on the bottom of a foot that have indications to different parts of the body. And this could be helpful in applying oils if there's a particular area, even massage. So people who walk barefoot stimulate these areas just more regularly. So shoes insulate our bodies not only from the charge of the earth, but also from having those stimulations on our feet from just walking around, because we have treads on our feet all the time. So it's a good idea to think about going barefoot periodically, but this can be a helpful chart. There's many of them available that can help pinpoint where the oil is being applied or massaged. So historical uses of cypress. The wood of the cypress was used for ships and houses by the Phoenicians and the Cretans. The Egyptians used them for burial sarcophagi and coffins. And there are many people who think that it may have been the wood that was utilized for Christ on the cross, as well as the thieves on either side of him. It's a very, very strong, light wood. But the essential oil has relaxing effects, anti-infective effects, as we've seen already, helps aid the removal of toxins, lymphatic and circulatory system motions, skin conditions, and helps to reduce swellings in the body. So some research around it. Back in 2007 in the National Proceedings Journal, there was a phytochemical investigation of hepatoprotective activity of the cypress that were grown in Egypt. So hepatoprotective is your liver protection. Another one in evidence-based complementary and alternative medicine in June of 2005, immunological and psychological benefits of aromatherapy massage. And then evaluation of the effects of plant-based essential oils on the central nervous system and the function using discrete shuttle-type conditioned avoidance response in mice. So this is looking at an animal model, but looking at CNS or central nervous system functions. And then in the Journal of Medical Plants Research in 2013, chemical composition of bioherbicidal and antifungal activities of essential oils from the common cypress. So these are just a snapshot of the different research articles that are out there, and there are a lot of other ones that can give additional insights into the benefits of cypress.
To be aware of new videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to the Preparing for the Time of Trouble channel. For more free videos and downloadable audio podcasts, as well as handouts, go to www.preparingforthetimeoftrouble.com. Topic categories include recordings of live seminar presentations, country living, sustainable gardening, homestead remedies, how to be self-sufficient when the grid goes down, wild edible and medicinal plants, hydrotherapy, and end-time Bible prophecies. To take advantage of these free resources, go to preparingforthetimeoftrouble.com.